Hi everyone. Today is day one of competitive programming, and I'm using language at C++. So today I will be explaining basics of C++. That is this part which I will be covering. That is basic structure of C++. What are the data types? How input output is happening in C++? Some of the conditions which they require, and followed by loops. This is the basic skeleton of C++. Okay, so this hash include IOStream is something library. Okay, let's say I'm talking with you in English. In order to understand what I'm talking, you should know the language English. In same way, the compiler should understand that the statement or the wording or keyword which you're using, it is for input or whether it is for output. So for that, we can use something called as this IO stream. IO stream is nothing but input output stream, where you can use something called as cin or to give user input, and then C out or for to print the values. Okay. Now let's say in a program, I wanted to use a lot of math functions. Like I wanted to find square root of a function of two numbers are given. I wanted to directly, without any conditions, I wanted to directly find the maximum or minimum of a number. Or some trigonometric functions, I wanted to find out sine, cosine, theta, or something. In such cases, we can use something called as hash include math.h. So if you ask me, what if for few things, there are a lot of libraries which are using, what if I don't know for which function which libraries are used? So simple answer which I can give is either you can Google it, or there is very simple way of we have something called as hash include bit slash stdc++ dot h. Okay, so this bit slash stdc++ dot h, this library, it includes all the libraries, some of them which might require for your program, some which you really do not require. If you write this line, it will be including everything. So you really do not need to write something called as has include ibostream.h, math.h, or some other libraries to include in your program. Only the difference is when compiler is running, it is reading all the libraries. So the compilation time is little slightly more than earlier. Okay. Then we have something called as int main. So this main is nothing but the entry point of the program. So from where to start? To understand compiler, which is my entry point of the program, I'm writing this main, and this return 0 is for this integer. So my function is of type int, so I'm returning the value of type int. So as of now, just remember this thing. For functions, there are two types of functions. One with return type, which can be int, float, double, boolean, etc., which you have to return the value. Okay, which you will be learning later in function part. And second, let's say I don't want, my function does not return anything. In such cases, you can write something called as write. Okay, so here let me simply write something. Hi. Let's see how it is running. Okay, I have to write a semicolon. You should never forget that. So hi, welcome to day one of coding, right? Okay, so this is welcome to day one of coding, which I'm printing here. Let me not waste time and simply do something like what I'm doing is I'm taking a number as an input and printing that number, a simple program. So this double slash is used for commenting. That part is not read by compiler. So what I'm doing is write a program to take a number as input and print that number. Okay. So here what I will be doing is a number. I'm taking one variable. So this part is nothing but number is a variable and of type integer. Okay. So let me explain why it is needed. So let's say I'm giving some kind of data, right? It can be integer, it can be a string, it can be alphabet, right? So in order to store it somewhere, because whatever data I'm processing, it should be stored somewhere and that I will be using it later part of time. So for that, we are having something called as variable. Variable can be anything. You can give any name and followed like which is of some data type. Right now it is int. Int means integer all the numbers. You can use float which is contain decimal points. You can also give string if you wanted to include alphabetical numbers. Okay, so what I'm doing is int, and in order to input something, what we are using is cin. So I'm simply giving that number, and number is what I'm doing is good. So it looks great. Let me run this code. So I'm giving the number as 10 and the number is 10. Okay, I can make it more nice. Like what I can do is I can simply print here something as enter the number, which should be in double quotes. Okay. Okay, it's asking me to enter the number which I'm entering as 15 and it is printing that number. So very simple program is done number. So here you can, this is just an integer which is a normal number. I can give different data types. It can be float which contain decimal values. Like let's say if I give this as a float. Okay, let me simply run this with some decimal point. I will explain what's the difference between integer and float. So let's say I'm giving the number as 10.5 and the output which I'm getting, here, I written number twice. Okay. So the output which exactly I'm getting here, number is 10. The reason is number is of type data int, which will not take any decimal value. So what if I make it as float? So let me simply make it as a float. And this time when I'm running this code, enter the number. Let's say I'm giving it as a 15.5. So this time the value which is printing, which included the decimal point. So we have something called as float, double, long. Then we are something having characters. So let's say if you wanted to print any alphabet, English alphabet from A to Z, you can use character. And let's say we are having also strings. So you wanted to simply, I don't want my data is not of type number. My data is of type some alphabet, some word, or some line of sentence. In such cases, we can use string. So we are done with basic skeleton of C++ basic data structure, data types. So there are different data types like int, float, double, boolean. You can always Google it. Input, output is done. So for input purpose, we are using cin, and for output, we are using cout. What simply, and for commenting, single line commenting, we are using this double slash. So what I'm doing is, let me just explain string, right? So I'm taking string str, and here, let me make some changes. Mm, str, and here string is that str. Very simple changes, right? Cool. So I'm entering the string hi, and when I'm running it, okay, hi, and I'm getting the string which is as hi. What if I'm giving some sentence, okay? Hi, how are you? How is your coding going on? It is only getting the hi because string will read only the first word. What if I wanted to read entire line of code? Okay, so in this thing, what we'll do is we have something called as getLine function. GetLine will read entire line. So what I'm doing is C in str. So here, what I'm doing is enter. Okay, it's an empty string. So what I'm doing is, so you can get here string is hi, how are you? Okay. So why this is coming? This enter the string and next hi. This both are colliding because after printing this line, I have not pointed it to the next line. That is, for that we are using something called as endlen. So endl is we are ending this line and our next statement will always starts with the next line. So in this time when I'm running, you can see here I can simply type here and same thing which I'm printing. So right now we are done with the skeleton data types in which int, float, other things you can try out by yourself. String is done. Yeah, so how you are say, simply writing one storing string, one word, and with white space. How you are simply storing it and how you are printing it. Then, if you wanted to only, the char is a data type, which is a string, you can say, but it is storing only single character. So if you are giving hi, only the first letter, that is H, which will be stored. Okay, so we are done with this. So let's do something like now it is conditions. We have something if else, nested if, and switch. So let's see what exactly it is. Okay, so let me think of something. What we can do is okay. So what I do is I'm writing a simple program to know whether a person can cast a vote or no. And when the person is casting out, when he is 18 or above, right? So what is the condition here? If age is greater than 18, then he can cast a vote, otherwise he can't cast a vote. So write a program to determine whether person can cast vote or no. Okay. So here what I can do is, let me think something. So what are things we need? Just now we learned few things, right? So first thing we need something called as variable to store the age, right? So variable of which type? Since age is number, what we are doing is we are using integer. Then simply I'm writing enter the age, right? I am entering the age. Now, what we are doing is based on the entered age, compiler is going to check whether the age is greater than 18 or no. Okay. So for that, we are using something called as if condition. So let's write it, right? If this age If it is greater than or equal to 18, what I'm doing is C out. Can cast out? Definitely. I'm 18 plus or above. I'm going to cast out. Okay. It is end L, not end. Lot of mistakes since it is first day. So I'm putting something each as 23 and person can cast out. Now, what if the age is less? 15. I have not got something because I have not wrote something which is for the user who is giving input which is less than 18. I have not wrote any code. Then what we'll do is let's write a code for it. Here simply I'm making age is less than 18 and can't cast out. Hmm. Age, the variable is not declared. Something we missed it here. Day one, small mistakes are accepted. Okay, so I'm giving something as 15 here. Can't cast a vote. But, my question is, I'm checking if age is greater than 18. Again, compiler is going and checking whether if age is not greater than 18, is it age is less than 18? Do you think it is really required? See, there are either two things are possible, either true or false. Since either 18 or not 18. So if age is greater than or 18, this part is running. But do I really again need to check whether it is less than 18? Because if this is false, obviously this part is true, right? So for that, we have something called as if else. Okay, so what instead of again checking a condition here, what we can do is we can simply run this code. Why we are doing this? Because when compiler is reading, it ends up reading lot of lines of code. So when I'm checking for whether age is greater than or 18, why do I really need to check again for it is less than 18? Because it's very simple, right? If age is not greater than 18, obviously age is less than 18. So here I'm giving something called as 12. Oh, okay. So I'm giving 12 here. Can't cast a O. And what if I'll give something called as 30? What happens? Can definitely cast a vote. 30 can cast a vote. So we understood if else. Now we are going for a nested if. Okay. So what I'm doing here is nested if. Let me think of some program. Write a program to find largest of three numbers. Some logic we need to think here. Okay. So largest of three numbers, obviously we need to input three numbers. So I'm giving int A, B, and C. So A, B, C are the variables of type integer. So what I'm doing here is, mm, I'm inputting A, B, C definitely. Then only I'll come to know. Not like that, because it will be one variable. Okay. Now, what I have to do is, I have to check the value. So there are few things. In order to A is greater than largest number, A should be greater than B and A should be greater than C, right? A should be greater than B and A should be greater than C. Then only what we can say is A is greater, right? Then write a condition for that, right? If A is greater than B, what I'm doing here is I'm checking. Let me write it A is greater than equal to. I'll tell you later why. If A is greater than equal to B, what I'm doing is I'm writing inside this if condition one more if condition. That is, if, hey compiler, if A variable A is greater than equal to B, then what I'm doing is I'm also checking for if A is also greater than equal to C. In such cases, what I'm doing is obviously A is greater. Okay. Now it's else part. Okay. Here, if A is greater than B, it means A is already greater than this. So I need to check for a C. If in this case, if A is not greater than C, can I say A is greater than C? C is greater than A. So let's say A is 10, B is 5, and C is 30. So here, if A is greater than B, is 10 is greater than 5? Yes, 10 is greater than 5. So in this case, I'm checking is this 10 value is greater than third. If this is greater than third, then this is A is greater. Otherwise, this value is greater. So here, if in this nested if A is not greater, then obviously C is greater. Okay, so what I'm doing is C is greater. So we have checked for a A. So what we have to do now is we have to check it in else part for B as well. Else, if in when compiler come here, it will check whether A is greater than C. A is greater than equal to B. Let me go with some conditions where A is 5, B is 10, and C is 30. So here what happens is A is 5, whether it is greater than or equal to B, no, it is not greater than B because A is 5 here and B is 10 here. So obviously this part is not going to run. So I have to check for these two, right? B and C. So for that, what I'm doing is if B is greater than equal to C, then simple B is greater. B is greater. Why B is greater? Why I'm not again checking for A? Because A is already checked here. A is not greater than B. Okay. So if A is smaller than B, so my largest will be either in B or C. Okay, either it is between 10 and 30, my largest values existed. So I'm just comparing these two numbers. So if B is greater than equal to C, B is greater, else, else C is greater. So what I'm doing is simply I'm copying this code and here it is. C is greater. So let me run. Very good. 10, 20 and 30. C is greater. Let me give some different values. Now, why I should give 10, 20, 30? Let me give something called as 45. Okay. Let me run it again. Okay. Let me just rerun the session here and let me run it. Okay, so I'm entering three numbers as 20, 45, and 10. B is greater, second value. Let me run for some more test cases where C, E, or A is greater, right? 125, 10, and 3. Run. Okay. 125, 10, some 2 value I'm giving. Here A is greater. So we have tested with all the test cases. So we are done with if else, nested if, how it is working. So now I have to explain switch, right? Switch is a kind of condition. Oh, okay. So switch is used, let me make it more simpler. So switch condition is used when the value is limited. Let's say if else I really don't know it, I can give any number, any number. I don't know where the upper limit is. So let me think of some cases where, let's say, write a program to print which day of week it is, starting from Monday as 1, Tuesday as 2. Write a program to print weekday. Okay, like example, Monday equal to 1 and so on. Okay, so here we know that in a week there are total 7 days. So Monday will be 1, then Tuesday will be 2, Wednesday will be 3. So only total 7 cases are there, right? So there will be some cases where we know only exact the value, the user which who is giving the input value will be between these numbers. Apart from that, I'm not accepting anything. In such cases, what we can do is we can use switch condition. I'll tell you why not if else and why we are using switch condition for this. So let me simply clear it. Okay, I'm making int day. Okay, so let's say there are 7 days are there. Okay, so do you think in order to write same thing in if else, what I have to do? If day equal to 1, then what I have to do is day equal to 1. What I'm doing is I'm printing it as a Monday, then day equal to 2, else again it is going for a else. Then again it is checking, again it is going for a else. If day equal to 2, the day is Tuesday, so on. I have to do it for all 7 days. The compiler is literally checking each and every condition. But do we really need to check that condition? No, right? So we have something called a switch, which is literally jumping to that particular case. So how to write it? What I'm doing is switch. What I'm doing is I'm passing this day, or I have to input a day. Definitely, without inputting, how compiler will come to know which day it is? Here we have something called as case 1. Like that, I have to write total 7 cases here, followed by colon. Case 4, case 5, case 6, and here case 7. Okay, so this one is nothing but this day which you are passing. So what if case 1? What I'm doing is simply I'm doing cout Monday. Looks cool. Same thing. I'm just copy pasting and I'm writing it for everything. You have to write it followed by a tab. Just remember it, okay? Okay, let's do some changes. This is Monday, this is Tuesday. I don't know Wednesday spelling, I'm literally like went. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then, okay, let me literally run this and see how it's working. I have to give some number, okay? I'm giving 5. And you can see here, 5 is here. It is literally printing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It has omitted the initial things. Why it is doing? The switch condition, what it does is, as long as it receives the input as 5, it will directly jump to that case, and followed by that, it will execute everything till end of the loop. So what we can do just to, for 5, I just need Friday, but it is also executing further line of code. So we have something called as break. So what break does is it will breaks from the immediate loop. So its immediate loop is this, immediate condition. So it is getting out of that. So simply let me write break here for everything. Okay. Now, now let me run and see. I wanted to give as a one. It is Monday. Nice. Let's say I wanted to know at 7 which day it is. Sunday. That's really great. What if we have to think of some edge cases in competitive programming, right? Here, our very happy workflow is I'm giving numbers from 1 to 7. What if some user will go give number 72 or some any number, right? So what happens? It should execute everything. It is not executing anything. So we have something here called as default. Okay. What is default? Default is, let's say any of the cases will not execute. Then we are executing this default saying the value which you have given invalid or any coding statement. So what I'll do is for this we really don't need break invalid. So now when I'm running, okay, I'm giving value as 15 invalid. And let me give, I wanted to print Thursday. Okay, so I'm giving 4 Thursday. So understood. So what I'll do is, we have done with this C++ structure, data types is done, which is int, float, etc. Input and output, which is nothing but this C in and C out. Then condition if else, nested if, which we have done. Switch statement is done. In next video, we will be going for some of the loops, while, do while, and for loops, and we will be solving actually lot of like coding, like followed by some of the data structures like arrays. Then also I will be covering patterns. Then I will be actually solving some of the advanced data structure like strings, then DP, dynamic programming, graphs, trees, etc. So have a good day. Bye bye.